Older women of Reddit. What's something you notice younger girls do that worries you? Mod note, locked due to a lot of graceless generalizations, derailing, and debating. Thank you to those who participated within the rules. Please continue to report all rule breaking. Putting their whole life online and using it to seek validation from others. I find it the most troubling when they feel like they are just being honest by posting everything. Sees, you do not have to justify yourself to anyone, ever. I want to let them know that intimate confessionals open them up for abuse from strangers that don't have their best interest in mind. I don't think enough young women value themselves all that much, beyond their physical beauty, and I don't think they are really aware of that. It's so beaten into our heads for our entire life. I didn't learn until my late 20s to view myself as valuable because I'm smart, creative, kind, helpful. It worried me very much whether or not I was sexually appealing. I will say I do value physical beauty and it has benefits, but it is not at all everything. I wish I would have learned this earlier. True, I'll be 32 in a few months and had a bad time when I saw my very grey hair roots. I felt like my life ended and I'd be the crazy cat lady. I actually love grey hair on both men and women. I think it's beautiful. I love those grey streaks women have sometimes. There was this lady I knew from work who had long brown hair with a few natural grey streaks in the front, and I thought she was the coolest. My lecturer had dark hair with a sort of salt and pepper, and it looked like a spider web on her hair. Epic. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to worry like hell about the fact that girls are wearing full faces of makeup per date, and on a daily basis too. I worry that dating and sex seems to start younger and younger too. I worry that they're so exposed to TikTok and videos that glorify eating disorders, that they're watching it and that they're watching other young girls sexualize themselves for likes and views. Like, please just be kids, preteens, be awkward and dorky and stop rushing toward adulthood. Like, please just be kids, preteens, be awkward and dorky and stop rushing toward adulthood. The worst part is when they are and get bullied for it. Yeah. I have an 11 years old, and girls have been wearing makeup, shaving, and doing TikTok vids for a while now. She doesn't do any of that, and has been made fun of for it. I asked her if she would maybe want some mascara or to start shaving her legs, and she said no, that's too much work lol. She's the type to really get annoyed by ads that tell women how to get a snatched waist. I definitely wouldn't allow her to have TikTok, and luckily she hasn't asked yet. I really haven't heard anything good at all about kids and TikTok. Not questioning the normalization of pornified violent sex. And no, I'm not saying it's their fault at all. It's just depressing reading article after article where young women and even teenage girls are talking about how they're pressured into tolerating getting choked and hit because they don't wanna be seen as boring. It's equally depressing seeing other young women joining the choir to mock the ones considered vanilla, only solidifying the norms and further increasing the pressure. I hate it. I always get so sad when I see posts like this on the relationship advice sub, like a 19-year-old posting about her BF crossing sexual boundaries to do something so rough and violent, or berating her to have anal. It's so sad. I'm only 19, but watching the 12 years old girls making sexual TikTok trends and flirting back with older men worries me so much. I wish I could talk them out of it like an older sister would. This was mentioned in another part of the thread, but it's relevant here too. It genuinely baffles me that when someone points out, for example, that a video of a 12-year-old twerking is concerning and inappropriate, the backlash is often WHIREYOUSE child, PRVRT, like I'm not, but the behavior and clothing are inherently sexual, which is why it's fucked up that a literal child is doing it, and why I have concern. The backlash stops the conversation short, and I don't know how to come back from that. Edit, I really like the way you put that, like an older sister would. That's exactly the instinct that I couldn't quite put into words. The sexualization of young girls and preteens. I'm not saying it's their fault. They don't design the clothes. But it seems like these little girls, under 10, are wearing clothes and sometimes makeup that make them look like teenagers. And the teenagers look like 20 somethings. I know I sound like an old fogey saying this, but be a kid. Be an awkward preteen. Then a teenager, and then a 20 something. Everything seems like it's so rushed now. And so sexy. And seeing 10-yos looking like 16-yos is disturbing. It's genuinely kind of scary. I see people in junior high and mistake them for being closer to my age. Granted, I'm not very old either. But there should be a pretty obvious difference between a 14-year-old and someone in their early 20s. Obsessing about and fearing their age and aging. No girl. 21 is not old. No dear. 30 is flirty. No pretty lady. 40 is fabulous. This wise woman turns 50 next month. I think that's more than nifty. I think it's fantastic. Seeing my mum obsess over aging. Using the anti-wrinkle creams. Joking about a facelift thankfully didn't rub off on me. She looks younger than her age, but doesn't believe me. Girls, don't be in a rush to grow up. Teenage years drag for what feels like an eternity. Then you hit 21. And then you hit the ground running wildly unprepared, because you've spent formative years reaching forward without taking what's in front of you as advice. I thought my 20s were my prime. But now I'm in my 30s and goddamn, if these haven't been the most fun. Full years. Good for you. I love that. Unpopular opinion. Having FWBs, situationships, together but not together all in the hopes that guy picks her. Pretending to be the cool girl going along with this thinking he'll change. They end up so hurt and heartbroken. Oh, now with all the life experience I have, I'd be way more assertive if I could go back. They do not think they are enough. They don't realize how strong they are, or how brave they are, or how smart they are. Surgeries, fillers, botox. Younger girls are ruining their faces. I hate seeing it. I don't know how much older I count as, early 30s, but the social attitude towards surgery has changed so dramatically since I was a teenager. When I was in high school, a girl, and this was in a relatively wealthy / upper middle class school, where many parents could afford it, came back from vacation with a bunch of obvious surgeries. She was laughed at because it didn't make her prettier. It signified to other people that she cared that much about what they thought, not saying it was good that they laughed at her, just that it was so out of the norm to show up with a new nose, lips, chin, and boobs after summer break back then. In college, there were girls who'd had nose jobs, but generally, even among well-off people, it wasn't seen as some kind of default, and it definitely wasn't a necessity for young women. It was something older women did, or rich young women did, if they didn't like their nose or boobs. Now, it seems like it's treated as being in the same category as putting on makeup, or getting your hair done. Like it's just some casual thing to do to conform to trends that is a feminine rite of passage every big girl should be entitled to do. And if you can't afford the good stuff, it's perfectly fine to cheap out. Like getting basement fillers in your lips or is no different than buying eyeshadow at the dollar store because MAC is too expensive. I don't have a huge opinion on legitimately grown women, not just turned 18-year-olds. Women whose bodies have long since fully developed, who can afford proper surgery changing specific aspects of their bodies that they don't like. But newly minted grown-ups, much less minors, getting surgery on still developing bodies just to chase a flash in the pan look. Or women who cannot afford it feeling like they are okay to go to some basement surgeon because celebrities use surgery like makeup is not okay. It's not okay that society sells this as normal and empowering. Women and girls are literally dying in agony or permanently destroying their looks for a chance to look trendy for a few years and outdated and weird for the rest of their lives. Saying don't worry, I'm plenty kinky. In their posts on r/sex or other sex-oriented subs, you don't have to be kinky. Maybe that's not for you and that's okay. You don't have to gag on a dick. You don't have to do anal. You don't have to be spit on or slapped. Usually that quote in on a post about her sex partner being too rough or pushing already stated boundaries. And they say that line because they feel obligated. Like it's mandatory. You don't have to be the cool girl. P.S. You have a gag reflex for safety reasons. You aren't broken. If you gag when something is shoved too far in your mouth, there's no need to get rid of your ability to save yourself from dying because of some guy's dick. Getting with older men who are using them rather than being equal partners. Also believing that porn is an actual how-to manual on how to have good sex. Porn is for masturbation and doesn't show you how to lube up or how to actually give a woman an orgasm. TikTok. Social media in general, but especially TikTok. Age-inappropriate self-expression. The two biggest things I'm thinking of are dressing super provocatively when they're actual children, and using serious, I don't mean playing with it, or wearing a little bit of lip gloss or something to a wedding, makeup when they are still just little kids. Letting kids explore is important, but it's also important to guide them in developmentally appropriate ways. I always worry about the obsession with dieting and bodies. I have so much trauma around diet culture. Growing up in the 90s and 2000s was a nightmare seeing what was deemed the right and wrong body. Women being called fat on TV and in magazines. And crash diets coming out constantly. My mom was, and still is, heavy into diet culture, and growing up with her commenting on my food and body all the time fucked me up. At 32, I can filter things out and see what's ridiculous. But as a teenager it's a lot harder. I worry for those girls and wish they didn't have to see all the negativity like myself and a lot of women did during formative years. I knew we were the same age when you said that about your mom. Mine is the same way. She still does all the crash diets and always will comment on my body. I don't talk to her anymore. I've been bulimic since I was 12 because of her. They take too much shit. They accept being treated poorly by partners, bosses, friends, and society in general because they believe they don't deserve better. Girls, you deserve better. Elementary aged girls getting their brows/eyelashes/other enhancements done blows my mind. Just be a kid. I'm a teacher, and one of my 4th graders often has long acrylic nails. They annoy the s out of me because her nails are basically a fidget toy I can't take away. I know fake nails are no reason to clutch your pearls, but pick out a more appropriate length for your 9-year-old. It takes her 5 minutes to pick her pencil up. That is absolutely insane to me, and would also annoy the s out of me lol.